For many, Italy has become the biggest threat to the Eurozone. Why is this? Well, that's what we're going to tell you in this video. The cradle of the West, the place of pasta, pizza, and popular coffee-making techniques like the cappuccino, ristretto, and espresso. It's all in Italy. But in addition to this, Italy has become quite a headache for Europe's leaders. No wonder. I mean, we're talking about a giant that could turn into a true Titanic. We're talking about an economic and financial crisis that could make Greece's crisis look like child's play. See, Italy currently has the 8th largest economy in the world, but this country isn't growing. Its banking system has loads of problems, and its government is hugely in debt. In fact, Italy's public debt already surpasses 130% of its GDP, which means that even though it has the 4th largest economy in the European Union, after Germany, the United Kingdom, and France, it also has the largest public debt stock. This amounts to more than $2.5 trillion. The Italian public debt, folks, is twice the size of the entire Mexican economy and almost 4 times the size of the Swiss economy. And that, if you didn't figure out, is a lot of money. But the problem doesn't even begin to end there. The Italian economy is hardly growing. In fact, it hasn't managed to get back to its pre-2008 crisis levels. Unemployment, it surpasses 10%, and youth unemployment lies at around 40%. To all of this, we need to add the fact that year after year, public debt continues to rise and it won't stop growing. The country has a very big population with an aging problem, and above all, the European Central Bank, which in recent years has been Italy's largest public debt purchaser, could soon stop doing that.
The European Central Bank says its massive bond buying program will likely end in December.
All of that said, we can easily understand news like this.
Italy is pushing Europe to the brink of another economic crisis. The Italian crisis that is making the EU tremble worsens.
Alright, so some of you might now be wondering, well, yeah, Simon, I get it, but this is hardly new. Italy's been a problem for ages. Why are we spotlighting it now? Well, I'm going to tell you.
New government, a step back.
After months of uncertainty, a new government finally gained power in June of 2018. And we're not talking about just any government. Led by the new Prime Minister, Giuseppe Conte, we're talking about a government formed by the Eurosceptic, an anti-system movement, 5 Stars, and by La Liga, an extremely far right-wing party. This new coalition arrived with a very clear idea in mind. Italy's sovereignty would again be in Rome and not in Brussels, which in most cases wouldn't mean anything except a higher expenditure. Well, the fact is that, as you know, the countries that belong to the Eurozone, that is, those that share the same currency, agree on certain goals with the European authorities, as well as on some maximum public deficit levels, and on a path that these deficits have to follow over the years. All of this is done to maintain their stability and solvency, and thus reduce the risk of crisis. Well, the new Italian government does not like this one bit. Deficit path? I mean, come on now, you're not going to tell me how to spend my money, Europe. And this is more or less what the new government must have thought, because one of the first things they did was present a budget proposal in September for a public deficit that is substantially larger than the one they committed to in Brussels. And that is when the earthquake happened.
Italy defies the European Union and increases their deficit to 2.4% of GDP.
A new government wanting to spend money, but Italy's got a public debt problem, and now they want to ask for a higher debt? Well, seeing is believing. Because, folks, 2.4% might sound low, but if we take the fact that the Italian economy is forecasted to not grow more than 1% in the upcoming years into account, then things really do change. Because that 2.4% now means that with every year that passes, Italy will become less solvent. That is, it will be even less able to pay off its debts. So, do you know what came of this dialogue between the new Eurosceptic government and Brussels? Well, check it out. Since Giuseppe Conte's new government orientation was exposed, the 10-year Italian bond's profitability soared by more than 90%. That is, investors now understand that there's a very high risk, and therefore they require a higher profitability if they're going to lend their money. Obviously, this means that every time the Italian government issues debt, it has to include higher interest. This means that up to the year 2020, Italy will have to face debt maturities of almost $600 billion, an amount that, of course, it'll have to request again from the markets, along with the deficits that it has accumulated until then. This amounts to more than $700 billion, which is an insane number. Well, if investors ask for more profitability, interest will be higher, and so will the public deficit. And if, in addition, the European Central Bank stops buying debt, it could mean even higher interest rates, to the point that this spiral could put the Italian government on the ropes, and then its banks, as well, they own a good part of Italy's debt. Also, it doesn't really seem likely that they will be able to withstand a new recession.
Italy's banks stumble into a new crisis.
And of course, that's not all. Italy isn't Greece. Its huge size could mean the spread of their financial crisis throughout the entire Eurozone. That's why the new Italian government's policies have led to so much concern. Italy is a time bomb that could simply explode at any moment. That's why it doesn't seem likely that the European Central Bank will stop funding the party.
The only reason Italy isn't already rated junk is because the ratings agencies assume the ECB will step in to prevent a default. In that sense, Italian bonds are actually German bonds. John Rubino.
The question now is, well, how long can this situation last? But now that we know what's happening, the question that remains is, how did we get to this point? Well, listen up.
The origin of the problem.
Not so long ago, we dedicated a video to how Italy arrived at the situation. We could basically summarize it as a lack of competitiveness. For years, Italian politicians really didn't care about the economy. While the world changed at full speed, Italy punished companies with extremely high taxes and lots of regulations. And that's not all. The state kept hiring more and more officials and spending money without really caring about the results. For example, only 1 in 5 young Italians gets a university degree, a rate that's almost half of the OECD average. And of course, if you aren't educating your youth and forget about being competitive, well, what else can you expect? If that weren't enough, by adopting the euro, Italian politicians can no longer use one of their favorite tricks, devaluing the currency. So this is what explains the dark news that we occasionally see in the media. As you can probably see, the situation is all rather complicated, and here at VisualPolitik, we're going to try and keep up with all the events. But now it's your turn. Do you think that the Italian government should break with Brussels? Well, leave your answer in the comments below, as well as in this survey, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please do hit that like button if you did, and don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos. Also, don't forget to check out our friends at the Reconsider Media podcast. They provided the vocals in this episode that were not mine, and also this channel. It's possible because of Patreon and our patrons on that platform. Please do consider joining them and supporting our mission of providing independent political coverage. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.